military, military, midair, midair, jam-packed, jam-packed, airspace, airspace, altitude, altitude, subject to, subject to, crude oil, crude oil, guacamole, guacamole, slap on, slap on, upwards of, upwards of, sore spot, sore spot. The black boxes and at least 41 bodies were recovered from the mid-air collision of an American Airlines plane and a military helicopter near D.C. 28 bodies were identified, officials said. A total of 67 people died in the Wednesday night crash. The jam-packed airspace near Reagan-Washington National Airport has prompted warnings for years. Investigators are focusing on the helicopter's altitude and communications between air traffic control and the military aircraft, defense officials said. President Trump's tariffs on goods from Mexico, Canada, and China are set to go into effect today. Goods from Mexico and Canada will be subject to 25% tariffs, and those from China 10%. Experts predict the tariffs will be bad news for North America's economy. More than half of the crude oil the U.S. imports comes from Canada. The tariffs could cause gas prices to rise. Americans' love of guacamole is about to be put to the test with Trump's plan to slap tariffs on the U.S.'s southern neighbor. Mexico supplies upwards of 90% of the avocados Americans eat, and new levies on their import will make them more expensive. Prices are already up 14% from a year ago, according to researcher Nielsen IQ. Super Bowl Sunday, by far the biggest day of the year for eating avocados in the U.S., is set to be a particularly sore spot. Hit back. Hit back. Probe. Probe. Sequencing. Sequencing. Blacklist. Blacklist. Virtual. Virtual. Dollhouse. Dollhouse. Franchise. Franchise. Mass shooting. Mass shooting. Identity. Identity. Motive. Motive. The leaders of Canada and Mexico made last-minute deals with President Trump to avoid a trade war. Trump postponed tariffs of up to 25% after the leaders said they would do more to block drugs and migrants. China hit back with new tariffs on U.S. products and started an antitrust probe into Google in response to Donald Trump's 10% levies. Beijing also added Calvin Klein owner PVH and gene sequencing company Illumina to a blacklist of entities. Video game executives did not expect The Sims to be a hit when it was released on this day in 2000. It was a virtual dollhouse where players could raise families, build houses, and cause disasters. But unlike popular games at the time, there was no clear objective. Now, a quarter century later, more than 500 million people have played games in the Sims franchise. A shooting today at an adult education campus in central Sweden left at least 10 people dead. The Prime Minister called it the worst mass shooting in the country's history. The suspect was among the dead, officials said, but the authorities released few other details, including the person's identity and a possible motive.